Good morning, boys and girls. Excuse me. We are on page 96 in our social studies book, and this is talking about our home and neighborhood. You know, it's a really great idea to know where you live and what neighborhood you might live in. Some neighborhoods have names. Not where I live, because I live out in the country. But, you know, my friends, when I was growing up, lived in a small neighborhood called White Oak Hill. And so they were in the White Oak Hill neighborhood, and that was a group of houses in White Oak Hill. When I lived in Colorado, my boss that I used to work for, he lived in a neighborhood, and his neighborhood included not only their houses, but a park and a school and different businesses. They were all a part of his little neighborhood. They had their own police station, their own school, their own library, and that was his neighborhood, and I used to house sit for him there. It was a very nice neighborhood. So it's a good idea for you to know your address and what neighborhood you live in. Ask your parents. They can tell you that. So it says on page 96, to act out something you can do in your neighborhood. So this is your chance to pretend like you're an actor or an actress. Go ahead and do that now. You can pause the video. If I were acting out something I could do in my neighborhood, it would be hard to do. But if I imagined that I lived in a bigger neighborhood, I might imagine myself returning books to the library and act that out. Our homes. A home is on a street or road. It has an address. An address tells the street name and number of a place. Now, my home, here's the road, and here's my house, and here's my neighbor Tanner lives back off the road a little bit, back behind me in the woods, and then over here is my neighbor, the Flories. So this is my house, and this road that we're on, the name of the road is Moore Road. My house number is 7604. Tanner's would be something like maybe 7781, and the Flories might be like 7600. So if you see, the numbers actually go up as you go down the road. They're in a numerical order. So they might start from the low numbers and go to the high numbers. If you had to call the police or an ambulance or the fire department, they would need your address. Then they can look on a map or pull up a map on their phone and say, take me to this road. And then when they get to the road, they can look at the mailboxes and the numbers on the houses to know what the number is, and then keep going till they find the right house number. When you send something to someone in the mail, you tell them what number your house is. 7604 is my house number. Moore Road, that's my road name. Gosport is the city that I live in. It's not really a city, but Gosport. The state is Indiana, and then you have a zip code. Mine is 47433. When you send mail, you tell them this. So if I have mail coming to me from my friend in Colorado, they're going to need to write this. And when it comes to the post office is going to be like, oh, this needs to go to Indiana. So they'd send it from Colorado to Indiana. And let's say it gets to Indianapolis, which is where a lot of our mail in Indiana goes. So then Indianapolis gets it, and Indianapolis sorts through the mail, and they're like, oh, this one goes to Gosport. So they'd send it to the Gosport post office. And then the Gosport post office handles all the mail for Gosport. And they would give it to the mail deliverer, the mail carrier, and the mail carrier would put it in their bag and organize it. And they would say, okay, this needs to be delivered to this house on this road. And that's how things are found and done. Now on the picture down here, it wants you to look at the picture and find and circle 8 Elm Street. Well, that's tricky. I have to look around, but I noticed that this house says 8 Elm Street, so I would circle that. Absolute location. A street address is the absolute location of a place. Absolute location is the exact spot where something is found. The Ong family moved from an apartment to a house. Their absolute location changed too. That means their address changed. Look at the map of the Ong's family move. Here's where they moved. They moved from an apartment all the way over to the house. So they're on a different street now. They'd have a different house number. I assume it's the same town, but their absolute location changed. So if I look at this map and it's this apartment that they lived in, and then they had to go up and over, and this is where they moved to, 8 Elm Street. Have you ever moved? Did your address change? Sure it did. If I turn the page, it says our neighborhood. A neighborhood is a busy place. We can see our neighbors. They are the people living near us. We can see them shop at the market. We can see them save money at the bank too. Look at the picture. Circle places people go in the neighborhood. And then think about how they would get there. Well, when I look at the picture, I see, it looks like a market, so I can circle that. I can see different businesses and circle those. How might they get there? Well, they might drive there in a car or a truck or a van. They could ride the bus. Looks like some people might be walking. Getting from place to place. Our neighbors go from place to place. Some neighbors walk on sidewalks. Other neighbors use transportation. A bike is one kind of transportation. So are cars, buses, airplanes, ships, and trains. Now, what it's asking you to do down here is to make a map of a neighborhood. I would make a map of your neighborhood. Use the legend below. And then after you make a map, you can use blocks if you have them to build the neighborhood. So for me, I wouldn't have a lot to build because my neighborhood is kind of small. But you can go ahead and use blocks after you make a map to build a model of your neighborhood. It's not required, but it sounds like fun. Think about your neighborhood and what is there. Then draw it. I drew a small map of where I live and my neighbors. So you can draw yours. If you have a police station or a firehouse or a school in your neighborhood, draw that on your map. Then get out your blocks and build those things. Make the street, build those things. It'll be fun. Talk to you later.